What is the one thing that they did that you cannot let go of? That's a loaded question. But we need to ask ourselves this, as I asked myself this. And what is it? Because the one thing that they did leads to everything else. That one thing that they did reveals to you who they are. And maybe, just maybe, your ego doesn't want to find out that one thing, because then you will have to admit who they are, and you will have to then let it go. We don't want to let go, because letting go does not validate us. Hanging on to our pain is extremely validating. And I know, because I've been hanging on to one pain for almost 50 years. Almost 50 years hanging on to one pain that happened when I was a child. And guess what? Guess what? Children grow up. Yes, we do. We grow up and we become adults. Adults don't necessarily forget, but adults don't need the same things as we once did. The needs of an adult are different than the needs of a child. And when you are stuck on that one thing, you're stuck in this child mode and you can't think like an adult and operate like an adult. Think about that for a minute. When you're stuck in child mode, where children need to be validated, children need to be heard, children need to be seen, you take that into your adulthood, and being an adult is extremely separating. An adult means that you're alone, you're separated from your parents, you're no longer living in your family house. Some of you are maybe even living in homes that are one bedroom units, a single family home. And so a lot of times we do not recognize, I don't want to use the blue one, we do not realize that our inner child still needs validating. And that is why we hang on to the one thing that hurt. Why? Because if we let it go, are we a child again? Maybe if we let it go, it invalidates our child, our inner child. Maybe if we let go of the hurt, then that child will have no reason to hang on to the innocence, and we will be forced to become an adult. But here's the thing, adults are still expressive. Adults are still self-aware. Adults are creative. Adults can sing. Adults can dance. But adults don't let themselves be hurt. We don't allow ourselves to be hurt by other children, certainly, and we don't allow the adult in us to be hurt by other adults. It's the inner child in us that gets hurt by the other adults we hang around with. So if you go into situations and into conversations wearing your big boy or big girl pants and being an adult that has no ego, you're not going to get hurt. But the ego uses a child, as it's always the way of the enemy, to prey upon the innocent, right? So the ego hangs on to the innocent persona of the little inner child, and the inner child is forced to feel things that it wouldn't feel as an adult, because an adult would be thinking differently, assimilating that information differently, because an adult is mature. Which leads us back to, what is the one thing that they did to you, the narcissist did to you, that you can't let go? And the reason why you can't let go is because you haven't learned. You haven't learned and discovered what it's like to be mature. God's ways are subtle. They are mature because they are adult. God cannot change, right? God cannot change. He is an unchangeable I am. So what happens is we are told to become like him. He is our Father, and we are told to adopt his character, right? Well, we don't realize that adopting his character or his likeness means to be mature, and it means to let it go. Now I want to tell you something, because I shared with you guys a synchronicity that I had, and it took me back to my childhood. And after I did the video on the synchronicity with you guys, it took me 5 minutes. 5 minutes to figure, well, less than 5 minutes to figure this out. Less than 5 minutes. And what I ended up doing was I reflected on the person who hurt me. And I couldn't let it go. And that person, and at the time that they hurt me, both her and I were of the same age. So we were both children. We didn't know better, but she was certainly showing her narcissistic side. She was showing her narco polo side, definitely. She hurt me, and what happened was I was still identifying with an object that had me identify with feelings, that I had for my family, my sister. Okay, so then I understood that God came in his fatherly demeanor, who is my adult father, who is adult in every way. He came in and he replaced the item that I lost, that I identified with my sister. He replaced it with an item that was more mature and suited for me as who I am now, an adult. See, when I was young, this kind of sounds silly, but when I was young, the person who hurt me was my foster sister. I had, like I mentioned, I had a toy, and her toy and my toy were similar, and she broke my toy. And that toy that I had, I was given that toy by my sister, and so I was 7 years old, I would say between 5, 6, or 7. And that toy allowed me to identify with my sister, as in my foster home, I was not allowed to share my feelings or discover my identity of who I am, because I was told that I was a part of this family, but I wasn't treated like it. So when you're told that your family doesn't matter, they don't exist, you're going to backlash, you're going to rebel. And that's what I did for 9 years. I rebelled, but my foster mother and we couldn't get along, and she couldn't see things from my perspective, and I was just like, I was shut down and shut out. Like I just didn't want to be there, you know? So anyway, so my foster sister took away the only thing that I had left to identify myself with my family that I had. So with that broken, I tried to, you know, I think that's when I started crying myself to sleep, because I could, you know, pretend and nurture my dolly and pretend it was my sister and put my feelings into my dolly. I think that's what I did. I'm just guessing at this point, because it was after my doll broke. That's when I began to cry and mourn the loss of my sister, because my sister and I were separated because she went to live with her dad, which we have separate dads. So she went to live in a different place, and I went to live in a foster care because our mother was just too sick to take care of us. And so we lost contact. We wrote each other, you know, here and there with letters. Back in the day, we had snail mail. But the thing that hurt me the most was I was reliving the loss. Every night before I went to sleep, I was reliving the loss over and over and over again. And so I was reflecting on that today. And God restored. God restores. God restored my sister to me. We have been, you know, distant from each other, and 2 weeks ago was the first time I saw her in 30 years. And it was a beautiful meeting, and she gave me a gift where she gave me some money and said, go spend this money on something for yourself, go have fun, go enjoy your summer. And so I ended up buying a bike. Now, bikes are extremely important for my life too, growing up as a child, because I loved to ride a bike when I was a child. And it was a sense of freedom. And there is a memory attached to me riding a bike for the first time with my aunt, my mother's sister. And it turned into a bad memory of that. So as I was reflecting about this, God restored not only, most importantly, who was lost to me, my sister, but also he restored the item that was broken and taken away from me. And he restored a bike that I absolutely love. And I now associate this bike with feelings for my sister. Not that, you know, I'm able to love my sister, but I'm able to think of a fondness of gratitude and thank you, my dear sister, for giving me this gift. Thank you. This is so precious. So, and nobody can take that away from me, because I am now an adult, and nobody can take my bike away from me. So as I was going over this, I also recognized that this person who bullied me into getting me to do what she wanted, I complied, and she still broke my doll. She used my doll as a threat. You come here right now, and if you don't, then I'm going to break it. And she ended up breaking it anyways. That revealed to me she was a narcissist, which revealed then to me that her mother, my foster mother, was a narcissist. And so this became not just a person who hurt me, it was persons, as my foster sister hurt me, and her mother hurt me, as her mother was a narco. Polo. And so I wrote this down, and I do forgive them. Why? Why can I now let it go? Because I'm an adult now. God is taking care of it. He has taken care of it. And I realized that in my pain to hang on to the childlike demeanor, I'm not allowing myself to cherish the moments that I have now by staying rooted in the past. So I was able to let it go because I saw these people for who they are. And I was able to see who I am in God because I saw God as a restorer. As he does say, he restores what was taken from you. He restores to you tenfold. Look at this. A doll versus a bike. For me, a doll was precious when I was a child, but do I play with dolls anymore? No. At that time when I had the doll, would a bike be more precious to me? No, because my feelings were attached to my sister with this doll. And now the bike, I've always had a sense of freedom with the bike. I've always had a sense of self-love and self-importance when I ride the bike. You know what it's like riding a bike. You know what it's like going over trails and just exploring. There's such freedom in that. So if I had this bike that I have now, I would have been too small to ride it. My parents wouldn't have let me ride it. I wouldn't have been able to explore as I do now. So this bike is freedom. The freedom to do what? Make my own choices. The freedom to choose to decide what I like, what I don't like, who I will follow, who I won't follow. And I want to follow the beat of my own drum. I want to follow the thumpings of my own heart. And this is leading me back to God, as God gives good gifts. He does not give bad gifts. Can you guys see that? God does not give bad gifts. He gives good gifts. And what was taken from me then that had emotional, soulful meaning to me then, God took what was meant to take me down and he used it literally to set me free and lift me up. Because now I have a healthy detachment of my bike as an object. I don't associate my feelings with my bike, but I use my bike to allow me to feel good things and gratitude and freedom and joy and pleasure and, happiness. As the bike allows me to integrate the childlike nature and nature and the adult nature together. And what do you got when you marry these two together? You have peace. So that's what I learned today. And I hope this has helped you. So ask yourself, what is the one thing in your life that they did to you, the narcissist did to you, that you cannot let go? And try to see a synchronicity or God in the details where he replaced what you lost with something greater. I love you. The more you know, the more you know.